Well, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are dialing into us from. My name is Mindy Sabella. I'm the Director of Marketing, Marketing Officer here at the School of Transnational Governance in beautiful Florence, Italy. And I'd like to welcome you on behalf of our faculty and staff today to our actual second annual virtual information session. One day we're going to have an in-person meet and greet once we get past this pandemic. But we welcome you if this is your first time to our meet and greet, and if this is a second time, welcome back. Today we're going to be running the show here for about 1 hour and a half. So I encourage all of you to stay with us so that you don't miss any particular points in the program. Applications are closing at the end of February. And so any questions that you might have, we are going to be happy to address them. We have a full program for you here today. We're going to be talking to some faculty directly, faculty and staff. We're going to be talking to some students and some administrators regarding internships, mobility, study abroad options, and all kinds of things that you might want to understand better before you finalize and submit your application. So we're going to kick off the program with our first guest of the day, our most illustrious and charismatic director of the School of Transnational Governance, former Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Finland, Mr. Alex Stubb, who will be joining us live today from Florence. He's been very busy commenting on the issues in the Ukraine from CNN to Sky News, but we managed to carve out a couple of minutes of his calendar today so that he can make an opening announcement here to all of you who are interested in our program. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Alex for a few points, and I'll be back when he's finished. Alex, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Mindy. I've got to admit that as an avid sports fan and someone who is following the Olympics, timing is not optimal, because on my screen here to the right, I'm watching the final stages of the men's sprint relay. And I have about a minute or two to go, and we have Finland, Russia, and Norway in the lead. So if I scream or cry within the next few minutes, you'll know why. It's really nice to see you virtually. And as Mindy said, my name is Alex, and I've had the privilege of running our school for the past 2 years here in Florence. And I'll say a couple of words about, who we are and where we are and what we do, just to give you a little bit of a flavor. So to start off with, you all know that we're here in Florence. I personally think, as a Finn and a European, that Florence is probably the most beautiful city in the world. It's full of history and culture. I've got to admit that I don't mind the climate either. But that's beside the point, because obviously if you decide to come over here, you'll be spending a lot of time indoors studying. Our school is actually here in downtown Florence in an old Medici palace. It's called Buontalenti. It's a building that's been here since the 1400s. And basically, it's been the finance ministry of Italy when Florence was the capital. It's been a courthouse. It's been a Medici palace and many other things. So it really is a phenomenal place with frescoes and everything. I'm now in a modern office which I share with my executive director Fabrizio Tassinari. But you will see from the pictures on our webpage what the rest of it looks like. And I'm going to scream in a second, because it's Norway is going to win this with Klæbo. Looks like Finland is going to go second, and Russia goes third. So that's really good news for all of us ski fans. And I can calm down because our women finished fourth, and that was a bit of a disappointment. So anyway, you can also probably sense that we are a serious school, but we also have a pretty relaxed mentality. We're about 200 people at the moment, if you count our faculty, our staff, our students, and our fellows. On the faculty side, we have 8 permanent professors, real superstars from different fields of governance. I'll just mention George Papakonstantinou, former finance minister of Greece, Kalypso Nicolaides, who joined us from Oxford and Harvard, Diane Stone joined us from the Central European University, Emma Lees joined us from Cambridge, Claudio Radaelli joined us from UCL, Michael Bauer, who runs our master's program, then Adam Cameron Scott, who joined us from Sydney. So we have a really good sort of variety of profs on our roster. And then we have part-time professors, and there we've tried to bring in people really from both the academic side, but also from practice. So, you know, we have Jose Manuel Barroso, who is the former president of the European Commission and Prime Minister of Portugal. Now, among others, is the chairman of Gavi, dealing with global vaccines. We have Miro Lajčák, former foreign minister of Slovakia. We just got Anne-Marie Slaughter from the United States. You know, you name it, and we basically have it. So it's a really interesting group of people. And what we try to do is, yes, of course, we are academic because you're getting a master's in transnational governance. So basically governance beyond borders. But at the same time, we try to train you for the world of policy. It can be politics, it can be government, it can be the private sector, it can be an NGO, it can be journalism. You know, you can focus on climate issues, you can focus on tech. It just depends on what you feel is important. We're also a very intimate school in the sense that, you know, you get a lot of special attention. You know, of course, our first year students and now our second year students, they are probably the best and most important business card that we have. In the first batch, we had 35 students. They're in the second year now. In the second batch, we had a little bit over 40. They're in their first year. And this time around, we will be looking at giving admission to roughly 50 to 60 students. So if you then start looking at the ratio of, you know, professor to student, I think it's quite good. What I think is really cool as well with what we do is that, you know, about 50% of people here are from Europe and 50% are from outside Europe. So we're truly an international or a global school. You know, we come from pretty much all walks of life, some from politics, some from academia, and it's a really nice sort of combination. So I myself feel that I learned something new here every day. We have 4 basic pillars that, you know, our activity is based on. Number 1 is the master's program, which you're looking at possibly applying for. And from that, you get a master's in transnational governance with a specific track or a specification that you choose. During the journey, you will have an internship, usually in a really interesting place because of our contacts. You have also the opportunity to do an exchange for a few months with extremely good universities like Bocconi or the Hertie School or Sciences Po and places like that. So the opportunities are there. And because we also have a really good fellowship program, we have 2 of them. One is Africa Fellows. They're here in the fall term, usually about 20 young leaders from Africa. And then global fellows, depending on the year, 30 to 40 over the year. So you get a really good sort of network of people that you can work with. Now, you might be questioning the term transnational. You know, what the heck is that? You know, what does it mean? Well, it does sound a little bit complicated, but for me and for us, it's very simple. We believe that governance today, and remember, that's what we're looking at, you know, governance in China or governance in the US or governance in Europe or governance in Russia. You know, we think, or in India or in Africa, South America, we think that governance happens both beyond borders and below. So it's not only state-based stuff anymore. So we need to understand a much more complex and networked world. which is basically based on a complex web of interactions from the private sector, from the public sector, from civil service, from academia, from media, and all of these come together. And I personally think that we live in a super interesting time in life. I mean, I started studying when the Cold War ended, actually in the US in 1989. So that was also for me, wow, here we have the Berlin Wall coming down, the Soviet Union collapses, and we're talking about the end of history and liberal democracy, social market economy, and globalization, and we would never look back. But now we are in a new stage where perhaps end of history didn't happen. Some people are saying that everything has become weaponized. Technology is used as a weapon. Energy, information, social media, trade, and of course, we look at military deployment in the borders of Ukraine at the moment. So, it's a super interesting time to be alive. We're also moving, especially with technology, to three things. It's going to change the economy and the way in which we work. It's going to change politics and the way in which we communicate. And it's going to change science and the way in which we are as human beings. So we'll also be grappling with a lot of the big ethical issues that we're facing in the 21st century. I personally believe that the tectonic plates of international relations are moving as well. So we have an emerging superpower in the form of China and everything that entails. We have probably a superpower which is, by way of comparison to the previous century, in decline, namely the United States. And then we have the European Union, which is not a superpower, not a state, but a regulatory superpower. And then we have a lot of big players like Russia and India and South Korea and Nigeria, Brazil, and so on and so forth. So it's a really interesting time to study things transnational. And the only thing I can promise you is basically that if you come here, you'll have a really good ride for 2 years. You'll be interacting and engaging with super good students from all around the world, great fellows, a stellar faculty. And let me also tell you, we do have a rotation of really interesting people coming in and out and that we're dealing with throughout. And I'll just finish off by saying that I just started a podcast where we're going to interview, hopefully at the end of the day, about 100 people. But we've done the 3 first episodes. And just to give you an indication, we have one with Professor Adam Grant from Wharton, one of the, I think, most brilliant psychologists of our time. I had an interview last week with Helle Thorning-Schmidt, the former Prime Minister of Denmark. And I'm just off an interview with Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the UK. So that just tells you the sort of type of people that we bring in and that we engage with. So this was my short pitch and historic in the sense that Finland did get, I'm very transnational, but when it comes to sport, I'm very national. So it was historic in the sense that our boys got silver, and congratulations to Norway for gold and then to Russia for bronze. And now we're going to show you a little bit of a video of the campus. And this is also an indication. You also see the type of video work that we use. And please, if you still hesitate a little bit, get in touch with our students here. Have a look at our homepage, but especially have a look at what we do also on social media. So really pleasure to meet you online and hope you apply and hope that your application is strong enough for you to get in. This is this is a really cool place to study. Hope to see you here. Here's a video.
We're back. That was quite the tour. 360 degrees. We'll be following up with a little surprise afterwards because that video is intended for you to be able to walk through. If you can't get on our campus, you're going to be able to do a 360 walkthrough, and we'll follow up with that after the meet and greet. So now we're going to move over to our next segment, where we're going to have a discussion with some of our current faculty here at the STG. We feel it's important for us to be able to share with you and give you an opportunity to talk to some of our professors. You know, we're building this program, all of us as one big happy family and team. We take a lot of input from the students in our curriculum design. There's a lot of high touch access with our faculty and staff, which is one of the things that students have said is a real unique ingredient about the program. So I am going to come online here with a team of our faculty and staff. Today we have Professor Claudio Raidelli joining us. He's chair of the public policy area of expertise here at the school, also runs our policy leadership fellow program and innovative areas of study, together with Gaia Tafoni, who is working as well in our policy area alongside Dr. Raidelli. And she's going to talk a little bit about innovative methods in teaching. And then we have Emma Lees, who has joined us from Cambridge University just this fall. And she is handling and heading all of our environmental law and legal policy on the environment. So thank you all for joining us this morning or this afternoon, depending on where our viewers are. I'm going to just, we have some time, and I'm going to just prompt you with some questions. You know, we've gathered some questions from applicants before they've, even completed their application. We have some questions from last year's students on interviews we've been doing. So I'm going to start with you, Claudio. And I think you and Gaia can cover this off. And as our questions come in from the candidates, let me remind you all in the viewing audience, there is the chat button, Q&A chat area. Please send your questions in as we're talking to the professors. Send your questions in live. There's a moderator monitoring the questions, and I'll be able to address them here live with the faculty as we go through this. We're not going to stop for a separate Q&A. We want this to be really fluid and engaging. And so we want you to ask your questions as we go, and I will be bringing those into the session. So Claudio, I'm going to start, with you and Gaia in particular. In addition to the Policy Leader Fellows program that you're managing, you're also actively engaged in teaching. And as we understand it, we're doing some innovations in our teaching methodology right now here at the STG. And there was recently a first ever STG policy hackathon that, as I understood it, happened toward the end of last year, which was quite interesting. And I know some students are going to talk about that at the end of the session. But maybe, maybe Gaia, you can talk a little bit about the innovative teaching methodologies that we're implementing and how that sort of comes to life with the policy hackathon that we've started doing. So I'm just going to let you both take that and see where we land.
Okay, thank you, Mindy, and good morning or afternoon, evening to everyone else. The best thing is to tell a story, and the story is that I teach a course in year one called Policy Design, and we were looking at the beginning for innovative ways to build up experience, skills, and eventually mark. So we got rid of the final essays or big reports and mini dissertations for this module. And we said, okay, let's go through a set of activities that are innovative teaching methods that at the same time build up towards the final assignment and the final mark. So we did, after some initial classic, I would say, seminars with topics and discussion, 3 labs. And those were labs where the students essentially take what we would do on a major scale as researchers in policy design and experiment themselves. It's like, having a smartphone and someone shows you how it works and then passes the phone on to you and says, this is how you do. You work with this app, try again. And we did 3 labs. One was on understanding consultation and evidence-based policy from the point of view of being in the lab designing a real-world consultation exercise for an hour. And then we had a second lab that was kind of a manual coding of narratives, and we took a speech by the president of the European Commission on Poland. First, we showed how we, people like Guy and me as a researcher, do complex coding, let's say, and then say, okay, let's go this speech. What is the narrative here? Where are the villains, the heroes? What is the problem? How is a solution discussed? What is the doomsday if things don't go the way the president says? What's going to happen to the evil people here? And and that was done in class by the students putting segments of text into the categories. The third one was taking instead a document from a government, a template, and say, okay, now let's find all the rules that define the grammar. So we did an institutional grammar lab where students were experimenting directly, individually with this tool. And then, as you said, Mindy, and then I'll stop and let Gaia talk, we went into the hackathon as a group exercise at the very end that counts for 45% of the final mark, where they had in groups and they had a good more than 3 weeks to work on that. So there was sufficient time to take a policy issue and challenge it to the point of showing how things can really go better in policy X, domain X, by challenging, and by better, I mean subjectively better, right? There are many ways to define what is success, what is better. And it was amazing to see the students going from the local to the global, from the metaverse to stuff that was about gender offices in higher education institutions, and present together at the end with a special jury where we had also a member of the Policy Leaders Fellow, so someone with experience to be a judge and provide a kind of a reality check, a reliability, feasibility check on their work. And that was fantastic with a final presentation, almost ceremonial moment with the groups very excited to present what they had found. And I thought that was so much better than staying in your room to write the final essay.
Yeah, and I just have a quick, are you doing role plays with the students? Like, are you giving them actual positions? You are the president of the parliament. You are the opposing party, you are the lead mediator. I mean, are there roles, or are they doing them in a third person, like observing from a third person perspective?
No, it's not simulation. It's
Okay.
it's a proper whatever that means, proper hackathon, in the sense that
Okay.
they have to pitch and sell a new idea, and they can do it with a film. Some did a bit of theater, like there were people lost in the metaverse talking to each other. What are we doing here in the metaverse? I'm here and I'm not here. What is reality now? And then making the pitch could be done with PowerPoint if someone wants. There were interviews with people that were pre-recorded and shown. But the idea is to have 15 minutes where the team together makes a pitch supported by a blog, supported by one of the labs they've done before. And I don't know whether Gaia wants to start from here and go to case studies. Maybe it's a good point for me to start.
Yeah, maybe you can. Yeah, Gaia, tell us a little bit about the actual hackathon. And we've got a couple of minutes left, so why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, pleasure to meet you all. And just talking about the inductive ways of learning at STG, or innovative ways of learning, and policy hackathons are a real innovative format of learning and engaging with real world issues. And as Claudio said, participants usually pitch a creative solutions to face a real world challenge, a real world problem. And at STG, in the policy design module, we adapted the hackathon format specifically for the social sciences context. We really wanted to push the boundaries of policy making. So for the students, this is a way to engage with the real world problems, try to generate new ideas and engage with tools that can be also useful for to develop your skills, for experience that you may use while pursuing a career in say in public policy in general. And I think it was a really good experience, the first experience that we did this year in December, and the possibilities are infinite. So this is an innovative way that we use in the policy design module, but another thing that we are developing here at the STG is the case studies function. Again, this is a way for students to uncover the complexities of the real world governance, of transnational governance, specifically decision-making complexities. And the very point of using case studies, I think, in transnational decision-making is to create an environment in which dilemmas are explored by students and they come up with solutions to real world problems. So students, you will be asked to engage with original case studies developed at the STG and to come up with your own solutions to transnational decision-making problems in general.
Okay, and I would imagine, I have a question here actually that I want to throw back to the two of you from the audience. This question is coming from Thilo. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Thilo, Thilo. Okay, when you supervise students for the master's thesis, do you usually assign them a specific research topic or research questions, or do you prefer that based on all of this, they come up with their own topics? I mean, how does that work in terms of developing the actual research topic? Is it something that's self-recommended, or are you looking for them to do certain areas so that the whole course has, covers a multitude of topics? And either one of you can take that.
Maybe I start by saying that,
okay.
that there is no pre-assigned topic. They have to come up with the topic, and that's what the discussion starts. So we can say, no, that cannot be done. Oh, how come it cannot be done? Because there's no research, for example, or it cannot be researched, or maybe the question has already been answered many times in other papers. We also support students with a dissertation seminar that goes on for weeks, and so that all the fundamentals are in place. We can help with theory, with a redesign of the research question, but we don't say stuff like, we do research on X and Y, you have to do a dissertation on X and Y. We don't say that. Okay,
so it's fairly open, and you help guide them. And then one other question I wanted to prompt, because I know, we're going to come down to, here's another one. Hold on, they're coming in now. If we don't get to all of your questions, guys, we are going to capture them and we will figure out a way to share them with you ex post, okay? So you'll get a follow-up from us on some of these. This next question is from Caleb. And Caleb is asking, I'd want to kindly ask if there would be an opportunity for students to actually start a project that could be continued beyond school and in line with public policy. Would the university be willing to adopt and work on such student-led projects? Okay, this links to one aspect of the can I do law question, so I can answer that if it would be helpful. Okay, this is Emma, I'm sorry. So anyway, would the university be willing to adopt and work on such student-led projects? So this is something that maybe Emma can address, but I'm happy to have you, Claudio, in terms of, can they do things beyond, the actual course of study here? Starting if they start a project here. Okay, Emma, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So I just thought this was a really interesting question because it links really well with one of the dilemmas that I think people have coming to the school, which is, I've never done economics, I've never done law, I've never done policy, I'm going to feel out of my depth. How am I going to do this? And what's great about our school is that you work really closely with the professors, with the faculty to build up your skills in areas that you don't know well. And one aspect of that is not just developing your work that we examine, but it's also, we help you develop your work that we're not examining, that is going out into the world, is going to be published. You're writing policy briefs, which you're putting out into the Twitter sphere or wherever you want to do it. And I even had a session with my first year students just last week, in which we talked about how they can turn the research work they do on my law course into publications for their future career. Okay. And that's something that we're doing in really close collaboration. So the professors work with you to help you develop those early stages of an academic or a policy career. And that's one of the great things about the STG. You have that close connection, close relationship with the professors who can help you take that work beyond what you do for your degree into something that you're doing for your career more generally.
Okay, and then I have another interesting one. And each of you can address this on your own, but there's an interesting question here. How do you empower students throughout their courses of study? I mean, in addition, you're obviously you're supervising them, you're working together, you're collaborating, it's high touch. But what are some elements, what are some ways that you personally empower your students as you're working them towards finishing their master's degree here? I mean, this is to all of you, so anyone can start in a response.
I can start because it's a fabulous question. How do we empower students? At the STG, I changed completely the way I teach master students. Before it was here are the theories, the applications, the research, what has been found. And now is, okay, imagine that we know all that and can be done in 20 minutes. How can you be empowered by using this specific model approach? So before we mention the narratives, of all the things we know about the policy narratives, how can they empower you when you go out of the Buontalenti STG headquarters in the real world? For example, they can empower you to deconstruct and challenge the narratives of authoritarian leaders, to understand the power of narratives embedded in Twitter communication, to understand how governments narrate consultation stakeholders when they talk about citizens' engagement in policy formulation. And this is take all the theory and move it outside of thinking that an STG student one day will work for an international organization, will be in an advocacy organization, will be in a think tank, will work in journalist, will have to get these skills to really do some work for the student and not just put the books back on the shelves. I've done that exam, I got my mark, and now I can think about the real world. We think about the real world in class.
In class, okay. I have a question here, a real good one from Vesna that I have to ask as I'm watching the clock. I have to ask this one. So Vesna asks, why did you choose to work at the STG instead of another institution? What sets this environment apart for you as an educator? That's a good one. Who wants to go first?
I'll go as the newest newbie. So I've most recently made this choice to come across from Cambridge. So for me, there were a couple of things. The first thing is the energy of the place. So I hope even through your screens where everything is already drained of all its energy, you can feel what a dynamic and energetic place this is. It's really a fantastic place to work. People are trying new things all the time in teaching, in research, in how they communicate. I mean, you just look at the stuff that comes out, the videos, everything. We're trying really hard to inject that energy and that passion into everything that we do. So that for me was the biggest draw. The energy and the engagement is fantastic. And then the other thing is in Cambridge, I taught two different groups of people who were interdisciplinary and doing multidisciplinary degrees, and then lawyers. And I really enjoy teaching the interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary students. It's a fantastic environment to work in. Everybody's learning from each other. So for me, it's that combination of energy and interdisciplinarity that makes this place a really great place to work and to teach.
Anybody else? I have another question, but anybody else? And then we're going to move over to Daniel.
One word on the freedom that I have STG. You just what is it that you want to do that you haven't done before? And if I choose something about teaching, I have first-class experts in pedagogy, like Mina Sotiriou, that stay with me and Gaia for weeks to design the hackathon, to design the lab. That's something, it's not about that I had to fill in a form or anything like that. It's part of, as Emma said, of this energy, of this fluid conversation that goes on between the pedagogy of teaching and the substance of teaching. Every day we no barriers, provided that it's something that makes sense and then the students get, as you said, empowered with at the end.
Right, right. All right, I'm going to introduce Dr. Daniel Iniardi. Can you hear me, Daniel? Except you're on mute. You have to take your mute button off.
I hear you.
How are
very
you?
well.
How are you doing? Welcome.
Very well. Very happy to be here.
That we're happy to have you. So I just, Daniel was preoccupied with something else earlier, but he's joining us now as we move to the next set. So Daniel is coming to us in the fall as our newest addition to the faculty, chair of artificial intelligence and democracy. He's currently in Spain right now at the University of the Basque Country. And Daniel, I am just going to have you talk a little bit, since it's going to be, we just went through policy design. We talked a little bit about student empowerment and narratives there, the policy hackathon, some innovative teaching methods, and then Emma talked a little bit about why she finds this such a stimulating place to work. And if we have time, we'll go back to some of her subject matter. But can you share a little bit with the audience today, since you're coming in now, and this is a brand new area for the school, but one that is very, very high on the radar for everybody. Just tell us a little bit about the artificial intelligence and democracy and what you're going to be teaching here, or give us a preview if you can. That would be great.
Okay, let me start by saying that if you like the problems more than solutions, you have to come to my seminar, because I don't promise great evidence, but an exciting exploration of a space that is currently unknown and that constantly presents us with enigmas and problems. We are going to enter a space, artificial intelligence and democracy, I won't say virgin, but insufficiently researched. It's a kind of civilizing incursion into technical barbarism, to which we have to give a human sense, but at the same time respecting the logic of technology. If you will pardon the metaphor, a humanist, a jurist, a politician who enters this field without respecting the logic of technology would be like a colonist preaching Western values without appreciating the cultures he or she is reaching. We cannot let technology impose itself, but neither should we impose moralizing generalities on technology that do not respect its peculiar idiosyncrasies. And the technologies of the digital cannot be understood or governed as if they were the old technologies of industrial society. To sum up, my interest in this seminar is twofold: to examine the impact of digitalization, artificial intelligence, algorithms, automation on democracy, and conversely, the possibilities these technologies offer for improving democracy.
So you're going to be actually guiding students. I mean, if someone wants to work on a thesis area or a project, let's say they want to combine some form of artificial intelligence and democracy with the legal aspects. I mean, how would you two work together or not? I mean, how does that work for students? You know, I mean, if somebody wants to take the legal aspects of that, I mean, are there ways in which you all can combine forces and have, I'm not going to say 3 tracks, but there's flexibility in the program to be modular in that way, yes?
Yes, a school like ours, which wants to be at the forefront of new advances on the frontiers of the unknown, imagining new forms of governance beyond the state, could not remain on the outside of the great technological transformations, or understand them in a conventional way. The digital revolution forces us to reconsider many things, from power and truth to the political meaning of algorithms and robots. At this school, apart from the fact that almost all courses and seminars in one way or another talk about technology and digitalization, there are 3 specific seminars on this. one more legal or philosophical or from the point of view of the political science. The one by Madeleine de Kock, focusing on social media and disinformation, to which the European Disinformation Observatory is linked.
Right, right.
The one of Andrea Renda, which focuses more on governance, regulation, and public policy issues. And my seminar, Artificial Intelligence and Democracy,
Right.
which focuses on the democratic dimension of artificial intelligence, with a basically philosophical approach from the perspective of political philosophy. That's my perspective.
Okay. Okay. All right, we've got time for one more question. I'm going to go over to Emma. Emma, I'm coming over to you with one more question. Since we have one more, we've got about 3 minutes left on the clock. Can you tell us a little bit about the actual law topics you're covering, and what are some of the things you're doing in the classroom?
Yeah, sure. So in my law course in the first year, so we have a compulsory law course in the first year, which I teach. And we cover human rights, environment, and criminal law. And we kind of circle back with each of them to see how they interlink. So sometimes it's a bit of a depressing course because some of these issues are heavy and difficult to deal with. But what this gives is a kind of quite a holistic understanding of how law works, because these are really different areas. They've got very different kind of policy concerns driving them and different legal heritage. But what's, I think, so important to understand is I teach the law course, right? But as has already been said, lots of the other seminars have got legal aspects to them. And so this is where everything kind of builds on top of each other, and you can kind of carve out within this information your own interest. So you might be interested in the criminal law aspects of my course more than the environment, but that would link really well with some other courses and some other seminars that you're taking. And then
that's the interdisciplinary nature of the you can really mix and match that. It's wonderful.
Exactly. And just to kind of wrap up on the last question as well, like how do you bring all these things together in terms of interactions with faculty? The last thing that I will say is you've got to remember we're all in the same corridor, right? So when you've seen your supervisor, you can always pop in to see somebody else on the way back down for a coffee. So we're here and we're all working together to tackle these kind of brave new worlds and new issues that we're all facing.
That's terrific. Okay, great. All right, so listen, we've got 1 minute left. I am going to, I'm not going to go, there's a couple of more questions in here. Let's go one more question with 1 more minute. This is a good one. Assume you had to choose between doing the Master in Transnational Governance, this is a sideball, and at the EUI, or a PhD. Which would you do?
I will answer with a bit of a cop-out, which is the question is not so much which would you do, but which would you do first? Because one's got to come first, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I would definitely do the Masters first. I did my PhD straight out of one discipline. If I wrote my PhD now, it would be infinitely better because I have more experience from a wider range of academic expertise. Infinitely better. The PhD is all about going as deep as you can on a tiny issue, but that means you miss breadth. And what the Masters in Transnational Governance can give you is analytically focused, yes, but breadth, right? Breadth. So that when you then write in depth, you write with richness and nuance and understanding and appreciation of the world as a whole, rather than just the one thing that you are becoming an expert in. So I would say Masters first for sure, but PhD is great as well.
That's fine, and you can come here and do both, one right after the other. No, I'm just saying. All right, guys, that's a wrap. I mean, we've got to go on to the next segment, but thank you so much for your time today. And any other questions that we come back to you with, we will. And have a great rest of the afternoon, and stay safe and healthy out there. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
you.
Bye. Good luck to all the applicants. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. We're on to the next. That was quite interesting. Any questions that we didn't get to? We are going to get to them. make sure you keep the questions coming, folks. That was more about content of the degree. Now we're going to move on to our next set that's going to get a little bit more into the administrative aspects. Now, once again, I just want to reiterate that the deadline to submit your application for the master is the 28th of February at midnight Central European time. So the time is fast approaching. And now, given that, we're going to go to some administrative elements of that process. We're going to be speaking next to two very important VIP people in the program that are going to be near and dear to you should you join us. We have Dr. Adrian Pop, who is our admissions officer. You may or may not have had interaction with him already if you're in the process of submitting an application. Also, Maria Elvira Prieto, who is our lovely project associate, management associate, who manages a lot of the internal characteristics of the master's program, from, you know, indoctrination, buddy camp, buddy program, boot camp, and all of those things. So I'm going to start. There's going to be a couple of questions. Wow, Adrian, we have a lot of questions for you. And I am going to start. Oh, let's see. There's so many. I'm going to look at these really quick. I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to move over. Obviously, people are looking to complete their application. Let's start with a basic one from Vesna again. Let's start with this. Adrian, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll go to you. Okay, Maria Elvira. Adrian, so how many people apply to the program each year, roughly?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mindy. So in order to be concise, we usually have at least around 200 applications, but we are talking about, yes, hundreds of applicants willing to join our program. We are now opening the third round of applications, and so far, as I said, we had around 200 in the first year, a little bit more already during the application round for the second intake, and now we are definitely increasing the numbers for this time.
Okay, and here's another one to go behind that, because just to preface, you know, the program is quite how should I say, selective in the sense that we're small, right? So you're going to have access to these professors one-on-one, having dinner, you know, whatever. I mean, it's a different, you know, we're keeping it kind of tight in. And so as our application pool grows, you know, we're trying to increase the number of admits, but at some point it's going to cap out to no more than 75, because then the program, you know, you don't have that intimacy and that one-to-one connection. So we're trying to keep that as a unique ingredient in the school. Here's another one that's a good one, Adrian. On the on the statement of purpose and the video, there's a couple of questions here. What's expected? What are the differences, similarities? Tell us a little bit about, you know, what the statement of purpose should focus on, or types of things that should focus on. And then the video presentation, does it complement that? Is it something different? What are you looking for in those two, and where are the overlaps, if any?
Sure, thank you. So firstly, I will tell you about a statement of purpose. We are talking about a relatively short document, so up to 600 words, in which each candidate should basically present their motivation for joining our program. They can talk about their previous education. They can talk about their research interests. They can talk about the reason or the way in which they consider joining this program will help with building on a future career. The video presentation, again, is a very short video, up to 1 minute, in which you can restate some of the elements you have already introduced in the statement of purpose, or you can choose to discuss something else. For instance, you can choose to discuss about your interest or the research that you are currently working on for the final paper of your for your bachelor degree. So there is indeed a certain overlap, but in the end, since it is a very short video, you can build on what you have already stated in your statement of purpose, and add some other relevant experiences that you have been maybe done or had that could inform us about your personality, about your interests, and give us more insight into who you are as a candidate.
Okay, and I've got plenty here. Another one that's, and this is, I think, interesting. I'm wondering if age plays a role in the selection process. For instance, I'm actively working for quite some time, but very much interested in the program. Do I have the same chance for admission from an academics perspective? I mean, is there an age limit or a preferable age limit on the program application?
The answer is no. So basically, age is not a factor in the selection process. Nevertheless, although we do not necessarily look for recent graduates, since we already had in the previous groups people who may have already done a second bachelor degree or may have already done a master degree. So we are talking about people in their early 30s. And this is definitely something that can happen. And in the end, it is strongly related to the candidates, the applicants that we have. So in the end, as long as there is a certain level of compatibility with our master program, junior professionals can also be included, in the group. So far, I can tell you that, for instance, last year, the age bracket will be 22, 32. So this is where we sit.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to move over to, we've got a lot of questions here. I'm just going to move. I know that there's quite a number of questions on scholarships, as obviously we knew there would be, and requirements thereof. I'm going to touch on how we're going to handle those in a minute. Let's go over to Maria Elvira and ask a few questions of you. Maria Elvira, so you're handling, tell us a little bit about, once admitted, let's say the students, the course is selected, students admitted, enrolled, ready to go. What is then the process of onboarding them, and how does that work in terms of how we get them into the program? What, I'm understanding there's a buddy program, there's the boot camp and networking. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you, Mindy, and welcome everybody. Well, basically, the first interaction that we have with the students is through the buddy program. This is a program that is not mandatory, and in which second-year students volunteer to support newcomers in their period before arriving to Florence, so they can provide to the newcomers tips and guidance in practical things. For example, how to get to Florence, how is the life at the UI, at the STG, or other practical things. Not for precise administrative topics, but because for that we have obviously our team and our colleagues, but for more practical things. So students that are interested in participating in this program will receive, well, all the newcomers will receive an email from me asking if they want to participate, and if they want to do so, they will be paired with a second-year student, and we will have an informative session in July. That is the first interaction with the newcomers, and this is a virtual interaction. Okay. But as soon as the students arrive to Florence, we have our kickoff event. That is the boot camp. The boot camp is a mandatory aspect of our program. Within the bootcamp, we have two different aspects are the main parts of the bootcamp. One is the academic aspect of the bootcamp, and the other one is the practical aspect. With the academic part, this means that the students will have the opportunity to meet the faculty, to hear about the courses, about the specializations, and to participate in panels and also open discussions about transnational governance and so on and so forth. Instead, the practical aspect of the bootcamp will give to the students all the information related to the STG, to the UI, to the life in Florence, but in a more formal way. And besides, the students will be invited to several social events, not only at the STG level, but also at the UI level. Within the bootcamp, and this is the last one, we have also the networking groups. The networking groups are organized within the STG, and basically is organized, or they are organized to give the students the opportunity to network with within a smaller group, because the STG, as Alex mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, we are almost 200 people. So in order to create a very good networking group, it's important to be in smaller settings. So how are the networks organized? Basically, the networking groups are led by one professor, and students from the different cohorts participate, also fellows, which are mid-careers or young careers participants in the fellowship program, and they have the opportunity to discuss about topics that are interested for them. So those are basically our three main programs that support the students while they are here at the beginning of the academic year.
Great. Great, thank you. All right, so listen, we've got a lot. I just want to, Adrian, we have a lot of questions here that, why don't we tell our participating audiences about your Friday, one-on-ones that are happening over the next couple of weeks, and because I think some of these questions, if folks know how they can best get them answered, rather than them coming to you one-to-one, I mean, we'll gather them here, but why don't you talk a little bit about how to get in touch for the Fridays with Adrian and Adriana.
Indeed. For the last several weeks now, me together with my colleague, so Adriana, we have these morning and afternoon sessions with prospective candidates. So basically, whoever is interested can register for either the morning session, which takes place at starting at 11:30, or the afternoon session starting at 4. And this is where basically in a very informal, let's say, and friendly way, we chat with our candidates. For instance, last Friday we had people joining from South America. We had people joining from Singapore, Turkey, different countries in Europe, and this is a way to address all your questions and have a direct conversation with us, and also have a glimpse into the other candidates who are interested in applying for our program, and basically get in touch with them as well. But these are very informative sessions because are based on real conversation. We are not doing any presentation whatsoever, but
it's
rather
a very
exactly
so,
have them asking.
How do people register for this? Is there, I'm asking you this now just because we're going to wrap up here. Otherwise we can just do it in the fall, but is there a link to register, or?
Yes, sure. I mean, we can copy the link into the chat, and otherwise.
Okay, link in chat, folks. Link in chat. Copy that link, because that is where you can get on the deck for this Friday. You're doing one this Friday, right?
This Friday, of course.
And the last one, the Friday before. Are you doing one that late in the? Okay, okay. So all of these questions, guys, that we haven't addressed, we're going to get answers to. We'll follow up and send it out. But it would be great if you want to do one-on-ones. You can get these guys on the phone and ask these questions, and then ask any further questions that you want. So make sure you copy the link and get registered, because we're going to move on to the next set now. Okay, guys?
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, and thank you so much, and stay well.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Sorry about that, guys. You know, that usually is the most prevalent segment in the session. We probably should do a how to finish your application. Maybe that will be another virtual thing that we do in the next set. But do sign up. You can click on that link and you can get yourself scheduled any one of the remaining 4 sessions, one-on-one with the admissions officer and Adriana. They're really good, and it gives you an opportunity in a very, very casual setting to get some of your questions answered right before the deadline closes. So next up, we are going to introduce 2 other very, very interesting people on our team to take us through a little bit about mobility and study abroad opportunities while you're pursuing your master's degree here. We have Teresa Chiariti here. She's responsible for our mobility program within the partnering institutions. And then we have Chiara Battistelli, who is running with our internship programs. We're going to talk a little bit about your compulsory internship and how we can get you to where you want to go. That would land you to the job that you're looking to get when you graduate. So I'm going to welcome both of you. Hello, Teresa. Hello, Chiara. Thank you for joining us this morning or this afternoon. So I'm sure we're going to have a number of questions coming in on the dial, but and we've already got a few. So I am going to start. Let me start with you, Teresa, because we've got about 15 minutes here. You're responsible for the new mobility program, i.e. we call this study abroad from where I come from, but why don't you share with the students, the option to study abroad, how it works, where they can go, and how that may or how that can be, of benefit as they pursue their degree in terms of their focused course of study. I'll just let you take that, and then we can move along to Teresa.
Thank you, Mindy.
Mhm.
So thank you, everyone, and hi, everyone. I'm going to give you, on top of the brilliant reasons that were explained before by our panelists, another reason why you should join the Master in Transnational Governance, and this is the Student Mobility Program, which I organize and which I'm in charge of. And this gives you the opportunity to study abroad for 1 semester. It is optional, so only students interested can participate, and you can study in top public policy schools and institutions around the world. Currently, we have 9 partner universities for the Master in Transnational Governance. And last year, for example, we already sent our first batch of students abroad for 1 semester. And the students went to Hertie School in Berlin, Graduate Institute in Geneva, Universidad de los Andes in Bogota, and Central European University in Vienna. On top of these 4 universities where we already sent students last year, we have other 5 partners around the world. So not only in Europe, but also around the world. We have Bocconi University in Milan, Renmin University in Beijing, Universidad Torquato di Tella in Buenos Aires, so the second partner in South America, Keio Law School in Tokyo, and the European University of St. Petersburg in Russia. These are our main partners. Of course, the list is always evolving, but why should you apply for this mobility program once you're enrolled? This gives you the opportunity to study at a different partner university, experience life in a new city, and take courses in very diverse areas, of course, linked to transnational governance and your preferred specialization track, while also meeting new professors and new students from all around the world. There is, of course, a selection procedure, so it is competitive and based on academic excellence, but students will be encouraged to explore the different partner universities. We will have info sessions during the first semester of studies. We will invite also the students who went abroad on mobility to give you a bit of a testimonial. Plus, we also receive every year students from partner university who join us at the STG for 1 semester semester. So you will have the chance also to meet them directly and to ask the questions regarding their home universities directly to them.
What percentage of students would you see going? I mean, obviously you have a mix, right? You're not going to have everybody. I mean, does it depend on, is there like a limitation as to how many?
Yeah, so we have agreed with all our partner universities for a number of slots, and this differs from university to university. But when you talk about percentage, for example, last year in the first cohort, we had 33 students and 11 went abroad for the third semester of studies. So 11 of our students joined one of our precious partners abroad.
Okay, 11. And so this year, so how many new partners are coming on board for this cohort coming in? Is it the same, or do you have additional options this year?
At the moment, we have 9 partners, the one I mentioned below, all around the world. But of course, our external relations office, the EUI External Relations Office, is looking to further new collaborations and new partnerships in the future with other universities. And here you can see the wonderful map. And the partners from academia are those in blue.
Okay, terrific. Okay, great. Let's go over now to Chiara, because we have, well, we have one question, Teresa. I have one question. It's a good one. If we apply, this is from Barry. Let's do this one. If we apply for a mobility program, will we pay the same tuition fee or will we have a different tuition rate? How does that work?
Yeah, so all our partnership agreements with partner university exempt STG students when they go abroad to pay tuition fee at the partner university. So students will continue to pay tuition fees at the STG, but they don't have to pay tuition fee at the partner university when they go abroad. So this is, of course, a good opportunity because you will join courses and taught by top faculty from top public policy schools, but without having to pay tuition fees there.
Okay. Okay, and then, but not the on the ground fees though, that's all, I mean, the actual living expenses and whatnot, that's separate, right?
Yeah, that's separate, and that is, those have to be borne by the students.
Okay, all right, now Teresa, over to you. We have a couple of questions here already. Hi. How are you? We have a couple of questions here already, but I think, you know, let's start with you just giving us an overview of the internship program, some of the partners where we have students where they've done internships, and you know how that sort of like rolls out to possible employment later. I'll just let you explain that, and then you might hit off on some of these questions while you're explaining it. So
okay, thanks Mindy, and hello to everyone again, and welcome to the info session. Yeah, my name is Chiara, and I'm in charge, in fact, of the curricular internships for the students and the career services. Let me say first that I think the internships are, you know, the trademark and a key feature of this program, and an expression of how important for us is to provide students with practical experience, to expose them to the real world, and also to provide them with connections in the real world, professional connection and soft skills. And the curricular internships, in fact, are an integral part of the program, integrated in the academic program, meaning compulsory, and to which we assign 10 credits, 10 ECTS. And this must happen between the first and the second year of the program. So it's really a learning process, a way where students can apply the learning of the first year and have practical experience. But it is a supervised training in a way, because the organizations, the hosting organization that we partner with, build an ad hoc agreement and learning program for us, for our students. We have partnerships and collaborations with organizations like World Bank, OECD, the European Parliament, Mercosur, the European Court of Auditors, this year UNESCO. So obviously the list of organizations that reach out to us to host our students is constantly increasing. UNCTAD, so the organizations are representing UN agencies, EU institutions, NGOs, international organizations, think tanks, and all covering all the specialization tracks that we offer within the program, and also worldwide are located in Latin America, Africa, Asia, Italy, and Europe. And we are also, I mean, the list, as I said, is increasing as we speak. And also we are open to the proposal and proactive initiative of students if they come up with a name that would like us to reach out to, and with an internship project, which will need to be assessed, obviously, by the internship coordinator and academic director to be sure that this is integrated in the learning outcome that we expect. The internships we ask for, it's, as I said, compulsory, and it's equal to 250, 300 hours, and must take place between the first and second year. And so this is the third semester, before also the possibility to go in the mobility program, as my colleague Therese just explained. So at the end of the internship, there's obviously a report and an evaluation from the Austrian organization, and then we can assign the 10 ECTS, and students are ready to pass to the second year.
Okay, and then in terms of job, I mean, I know that, you know, we've got our first cohort going out, and you know, you're hard at work, or we're building. You know, there was a question here on an employment office or career placement office here at the STG. We actually are in the process right now of building that. You're going to hear a little bit from the students after this set. But I do believe that, you know, in addition to all the organizations where we're building relationships, a lot of our professors have quite a bit of contact with organizations throughout the union and where they've come from, because they're fairly seasoned professionals. And I understand that, you know, there has been a placement, right, for one student at the World Trade Organization. Is that right?
Yeah, In fact, during the curricular internship, although we cannot intend this as a job placement, because also it happens between the first and the second year. So it's not that, as we said, but of course, this opens a lot of doors and possibilities for students, not only in terms of networking, but can lend on a job offer like it happened already, or other career opportunities and collaborations, which continue after the curricular internship. Not only that, the organizations we are exposed to, the network, the staff and the faculty members always, as you said, are in contact with many different institutions and organizations. So we send, for example, weekly job letters with the career opportunities from the outside world, and organizations reach out to us to, you know, to access the talent pools of students that we offer. With post-graduation internships opportunities, for example, and sometimes job vacancies. Also, we organize info session, for example, with the European institutions to guide students and give tips on how to enter this institution, how to apply for the Blue Book or Robert Schuman training, for example. And we are planning to build more events like these ones on top of the one-to-one career coaching and guidance that we can give, in couple with the professional skills workshops that we already offer integrated in the program along the 2 years.
Okay, and is it possible to do an internship at more than one institution? That's a question that came from Mariam.
For the curricular internships, I would say no, because of the time frame limit that we have, and because we only can give up to 10 credits, which we already assigned to 300 hours training. It can be that the student is able to do an extracurricular internship or post-graduation internship during the second year, for example, or a remote opportunity if this is you know, compatible with the academic burden.
Okay, and one more. I'm going to do one more before we cut over to the students so that they can have a chat student to student. This is from Thilo to you, Chiara. okay. I read on the website that European Parliament and European Court of Auditors are partner organizations of the EUI. Does that also mean that special rules apply to these internships, or are students subject to the regular regulations and rules for traineeships of those institutions?
This institution, especially the European Parliament, we have, the framework of the study visit, which applies to our students. This means that we have obviously a preferential way that for the selection. So we do provide the curricular of our students who would like to apply for these institutions. And so in this case, the framework is built up, tailor-made for our students. In another organization, as the European Court of Auditors, still there is the need to apply through the website. But this particular framework, it's important to mention that allows students after the master to be able to apply to other trainings or other institutions, because it's meant to that rule. And yes, as for the selection, since you asked these questions, obviously we disclose the list of internships offers that we have at the beginning of every year, and students have the possibility and the time to assess all of these organization internships and apply through me to this organization by the end of December. And then obviously there is a selection done at the institutional level.
Okay, perfect.
Before this are signed.
Okay, great. I think, we're good to go. Now we're going to bring some of our students on, so we're going to let you ladies go. Thank you very much for your time this morning. And any questions we'll follow up so we can respond, as one unit. So I'm going to let you guys go. We're going to bring on our students to talk about their internships. Thank you, guys. Okay, now we're down to the finale, which is my favorite part, actually, because now we get to introduce our actual real life master students, first year students, second year students. There's a little bit of both. And so they're going to come online now. And I am going to welcome first year master's student Mahmoud Javadi, who's joining us from our illustrious frescoed ceiling conference room today. We have Sarah Tegas, who's a first year student at the STG. Hala Ahmad, who's a second year student. I guess she's coming on roughly here soon. They're loading them all on. And then we're going to have Maxent Kremadis, who is Sydney, Australia, and France. So we've got quite the international contingent here, a transnational group of master's students that are our current cohorts. And so welcome to you four. Thanks very much for joining us today so that we can share a little bit about your experiences with some of the potential incoming students for the fall. Obviously, there's going to be a number of questions that are going to come in on the channel, but I'm just going to sort of go through. I want to ask each of you 1 minute. You tell us your name, what country you're from, how many languages you speak, and we'll go around and then I'll start with questions. So why don't we start with you, Mahmoud? Name, where you're from, how many languages you speak.
Okay, thank you, Mindy. Sincere regards from Florence to all participants. My name is Mahmoud Javadi. I'm from Iran. I'm a Persian native speaker. I speak English, but also I understand and comprehend French and Arabic and basic Italian. So less than 1 minute. Okay. Okay, Max.
Hello, my name is Mixon Kamenez, and unlike what Mindy said, I'm from New Zealand, Auckland, not Sydney, Australia.
Sorry. Even better, you're a Kiwi. Sorry.
You're Canadian from Toronto, Mindy. I speak fluently French and English, and I'd say 70% Italian, Spanish, and then a bit of Thai.
Excellent. Okay, Hala.
Hello, everyone. So Hala, I'm from Jordan. I speak Arabic and English, and you can say Italian in the process.
In the process. And Sarah?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm from Belgium and Italy, and I speak French, Italian, and English.
Okay, so we've got pretty much a mini United Nations here on the screen, not to mention the multiple countries and languages behind them with the full class of around 65, 70 students right now. So that's really great. That's what makes this place special. Okay, I am going to just pose some questions to you guys and get the conversation going. Let's start with Mahmoud. Let's start with you. Just because, you know, you've got a bit of an interesting background here. You are a first-year student. However, you have a master's. You have a master's degree. You have a previous master's degree you got in 2015 before you came here. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, and then what brought you here, and you know, some of the things that you're doing here. How do you find your experience at the school? And maybe you can just touch on this internship you have coming up. That would be great.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I got my first master in European Studies in 2015 in Tehran, University of Tehran, Iran. And since then, before admitting to STG, I worked with different research institutes and think tanks in Iran, focusing on Iranian-European relations and Middle East issues. The main reason, of course, that's the longest story. That's why I joined STG and this program. But there are key ideas behind this. One, the topic and the theme of this program is about transnational governance, because I am super interested in transnationalism, in regional governance, and I think that this program fits my interests. So this is main reason. But at the same time, the faculties, the EUI, the brand, and the recognition of EUI, STG, and also I think that STG is a mixture of academics and practitioner, not just the director or professor, but also we have fellows with different backgrounds that we have direct access to them in order to learn from their expertise, their insights in real world. So these are just a combination, or maybe just a few of reasons that I chose this program. And you mentioned about internship. Yeah, actually, our wonderful Chiara explained about it, but since I will go to Carnegie Europe in the coming summer as part of my internship. So I'm super excited for this opportunity. And I think since it's related to my interests and somehow expertise that I work already in different research institutes. So that's great. And I think that's ideal to me. But maybe just one point that, of course, Carnegie was not in the list for partnership. But the good point for STG is that if you ask for Chiara or other professors, okay, I like this institute or these organizations, they do their best and they try their best in order to contact with that institute and help you get internship there. And that happened to me, and I'm super thankful, and yeah, I'm super excited for that.
Okay, and I have another question. What do you wish you knew about the STG before you applied here? What do you wish you knew before you applied here? You're all going to get this question. So he's going first, so he's taking the hit. So what do you wish you knew? You don't have to overthink it, but it's a great question, and it came in from one of our viewers.
You mean after the graduation, or?
No, like before, when you were applying, like, okay, you got here, now you're here. In retrospect, what do you wish you knew about the school that maybe you didn't know when you were applying?
Well, the STG actually is a new entity or new organization. So at the time, there were so many questions, sometimes concerns, ambiguities. For example, of course, there are so many parallel institutions. And at the time, I was curious, okay, how STG would like to improve or become prominent among different universities and research institutions or organizations. So at the time, that was main concern, or actually I would like to know more about it when I apply. That okay, what's the plan for the future for the students and maybe their teaching, their method, the curriculum. Yeah, they were some part of my concern at the time.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move over to Max. Max is a second-year student. I know Max fairly well. Max and I go way back. Just kidding, Max. No. But Max, so I'm going to ask you a different question. I mean, actually, there's some really good ones coming in here. So I'm going to round robin because in the interest of time, I want to get to all of you. So you came to us, Max. I'm going to ask you this question first. What do you find to be the most fascinating aspect of this degree so far for you personally? And that's from our viewers as well.
After you, I'd say the proximity.
Oh, you're too kind.
No. I'd say the proximity to professors, I'd say is quite good, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know how people are applying here, but I have kind of a history of being in lecture rooms, massive lecture rooms, etc. Not being able to talk to professors or even access a mentor or networking group. And here you're really like face, if you like it or you don't, plus or minus. You're very much in front of the teachers and talking to them physically and personally afterwards as well.
And that gets to another question here before I go into you. Given the fact that it's so small and that, we are sort of the smaller cohort, right, at the university relative to a larger university, how you notice the difference on a positive aspect, that you have this access to the professors and the classes are small. Do you miss things that you might have enjoyed at a larger school, for example, at a Sciences Po or an ETH in Zurich or an LSE? I mean, how would you weight, right? I mean,
hell no, this isn't propaganda at all, but no, because in old schools, you were kind of like, you were another student in the lot. Here, I feel like we're really given a chance of, maybe because we're the first cohorts, I don't know, maybe we're giving privileged statuses to become good at alumni, but we're really pushed, and it's very, I'd say, personal, the way we are dealt with daily, I don't know, my old university or LSE or anything else, I don't, maybe the name shadows the struggle of having so many people and the lack of intimacy or attention you get in your cases, but no, I would never do that. No.
Okay, so you prefer the okay. All right. So let me go. What? Go ahead. No.
It's a personal choice.
That's I mean, because you might not have the, I don't know, like in the United States, we would have tailgate parties and football games at certain universities, right? So there are aspects of a big university that you have that you don't have at a smaller one. So in your case, you prefer, I mean, it was just a good question, so I thought I'd ask it. Hala, I'm going to go over to you now, because your background is quite interesting, actually. As one of our master's students, Hala's is also a second-year student, but I understand that you have some work experience and you have a background in engineering. Is that correct? So you don't have the classical history or law or political science background, which is really interesting because we're looking for students like that as well. But maybe you could tell us a little bit, given your background, your work experience, you came here, you've already done 2 incredible internships. I mean, tell us a little bit about, coming here after some work experience, what your work experience was and how are you finding it? Maybe a little bit about your internships.
Thank you, Mindy. Yeah, it's a bit surprising that I'm doing something completely different from my bachelor degree. So yeah, I studied chemical engineering in Jordan. And it's just like that I felt that I need to do something else since I was also really interested in security and MENA region. And I wanted to discover more. And the STG was the perfect place to do so. And when I saw the programs and the track that they offer and like the international network with the partner institution, as what Teresa mentioned, I was amused and I decided to give it a try, and here I am. And actually last summer I did 2 internships. The first one was with the EU Parliament, the EBRS unit, the research unit, basically. And it was amazing, like for someone coming from the Middle East to have the access for one of the highest level of EU institution, and also to have an access to high level dialogues in the Parliament. And also I had the opportunity to publish a paper also the Parliament called NATO Troops Withdrawing from Afghanistan. And the second one was more how to say that, like field work. Like the Parliament one was more research based, and the Oxfam one was more field work, including surveys, interviews, and similar stuff. So yeah. that's me.
And I hear, is it true that you published a paper already?
Yeah, exactly, with the parliament.
Okay. And what was that paper? What was the subject? I mean,
yeah, it's NATO troops withdrawing from Afghanistan with the research unit with Parliament.
So where can we read that published article?
It's in the Parliament website.
Okay, I'm very interested.
I will send it to you, Mindy.
Yes, I mean, why don't you send that? Do you have a link? Maybe we can share it before we go.
Actually,
send the link to the. I think it would be interesting. Send the link so that we can share that with the group. That's really wonderful. Congratulations. That's a real impressive to get published so early on. Great. Thank you for that. Now over to you, Sarah. Sarah is a first-year student, one of our European students here, and she's also got some quite interesting things. We're going to close with you, Sarah. So let's see. I'm actually personally very interested in knowing a little bit about some of the things you're involved academically and socially. It seems like you're doing some really cool stuff. And apparently there's this Derendorf project regarding some discussion on Europe in a changing world. Tell us a little bit about that. Is that an internship or is that a core? I mean, what are you doing with that? What is that?
So basically, it's a research program that is led by the University of Oxford in collaboration with other universities around the world, EUI included, but also with Turkey, Russia, the United States, and China. So one university per country. And so the idea is to discuss Europe in a changing world and the relationship between Europe and those various countries that are involved in this research collaboration. So we're discussing perspectives of Europe, how those countries connect together, and then how the new emerging world is coming together and where Europe stands in that.
Is this something separate? Is it part of your studies or is it something you're doing complementing your studies?
So it's, let's say, part of my studies because EUI made a call for applications to represent the university within this program. So I applied for it. And then, yeah, we're meeting like once a month on a big Zoom link and discussing this.
Okay. And then I understand that you also are an avid rower.
I am.
So you've picked the rowing team as the extracurricular activity person, right? I mean, you're actually doing rowing on the Arno. Is that true?
It is true, yeah.
Is it fun?
It's amazing. It's quite unique. I mean, I've never rowed before, but it was open to beginners. So I was like, I'm very curious about this sport. Like, let me try it. And you get under Ponte Vecchio at 8 a.m. The sun has just risen. Like, you see the city in a very different and unique way as well. It's really nice.
Did they take you out in the rain?
Once, because it doesn't rain that much in Florence, actually.
I know. Well, that's great. Good for you. I mean, good for you. I'm gonna, you know, there was a question here that I do want to touch on. I think, Mahmoud, you're involved in the Civica project. Is that right?
Yes, actually, Civica is an umbrella term that have different initiatives, and I join or represent. I'm representing or actually coordinator of STG and EUI in one of Civica projects. Yeah.
Okay, can you say? I mean, it's just because we had a question. Can students in the STG and can the students in the program join or participate in Civica joint courses too, or is that a separate thing? Do you know? I mean, maybe that's not the right question for you, given.
As far as I know, not for the courses, because mostly for PhD students, not for a master student at STG, but there are so many other initiatives, competitions, and programs that STG students can join. And I think that part of success in this program is this networking, and Civica will help you to expand your network with different institutions, different people. So there are so many avenues to engage with Civica. Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's something that's actually, because that's a fairly new initiative from the EU. I think it's only since 2019 or something, which is, another element. We have tons of those networking opportunities. Okay, we're going to wrap this up, but I still have one. Hala, I want to ask you, what do you wish you knew about the program before you got here? Your turn. Well, now that you're here,
yeah.
What do you wish you knew before?
Like, I don't really, it's complicated a question, but I will say, what I wish, actually, I don't know, but like maybe like what Max was saying about how it's really small community, actually it's really helpful to communicate with the professor in very more efficient and easy way, and you feel like you're like with the small family, not in like university. So that's really cool.
And Sarah, what do you find to be the most fascinating part of the program?
Might sound a bit cheesy, but I would say the people in general, because you have everyone coming from different side of the world with different research interests and experiences, and that what makes all the conversations and discussion in class as well like so valuable. So yeah, I would say that's quite fascinating.
And I would say, yeah. And so all of you are going to go off into the great blue yonder at some point and come back and tell us all of your fascinating stories. All right. I think that, so wrap, we're 35 minutes past the hour, so we're good. We've covered everything we needed to cover. I am going to say goodbye to our illustrious students. Thank you for spending time with us today. I'm just going to remind everyone, 28 February by midnight is the deadline for applications to all be submitted. We are going to have the impersonal Corner Cafe with Adrian and Adriana, which are super fun sessions, 2 on Friday this week, and on the 18th, I believe, and 2 the final weekend after. We're going to take some of these questions, try to wrap them up and send them in a follow-up with our link so that you can take a 3D walk through our campus, which is the video you saw earlier. That'll be able, so you can go out and kind of feel what it's like to be here. And hopefully we'll see some of you on campus next year. Thanks for joining and have a great rest of your week, folks. Take care. Bye-bye from Florence.
The choice of the internship was kind of a surprise. I was looking for places, and then I was checking some of the places that the professors of the EUI were connected with, and then I found the Istanbul Policy Center. I already knew about Istanbul Policy Center. I already knew about their activities, and they are well connected, especially with governments throughout Europe. So I applied over there for the internship, especially that they have special focus groups on democracy, public administration. So I applied over there, and with the help of the AI, I got the place. There at Istanbul Center, I was doing administrative tasks like any other intern. But on the side, I was also helping some of the fellows over there working on the research, especially with democratization, the EU-Turkey relations. And I had my own special research dossier on Turkey and Egypt rapprochement that just took place right before I started my internship. The reality check